Cheers.
Cheers to Sean Connery.
We googled some drinking games and we basically did the first one.
The first one that Google showed us.
And the rules were drink every time he orders a martini.
A medium dry martini, lemon peel, shaken, not stirred.
Every time he says shaken, not stirred, he drinks. Anytime anyone says Bond or James, every time he has sex. You drink twice if the woman he's making love with dies. Every time he kills someone. Every time he makes a quip.
Sergeant, make sure he doesn't get away.
Every time he uses a gadget. Every time Moneypenny appears. Every time the name of the film is spoken.
Dr. No.
If he's on skis. If he's underwater. Drink every time a woman is in a bikini who doesn't want to swim. Every time you see a helicopter. Every time there's a large explosion. Anytime there's a near-death escape. A villain reveals his plan. The main car is destroyed. Someone says 007 or someone says License to Kill. So we played that, and you don't drink a lot in Dr. No with those rules.
No, I was sort of expecting this to be... I thought we were going to be a real state after this.
Morning, Bond.
Oh,
Sorry to talk to you so
Bond.
early, but I need some information. Go ahead. All you have on Dr. No and Crab Key.
Dr. No.
Tara, bring me the files on Dr. No.
Jesus, here we go.
Dr. No.
Probably also explain the costumes as well. Not just because it's Halloween.
I don't think I have to explain my costume.
Who have you come dressed as? I don't own a dinner jacket and I don't own a bow tie, so I threw together something that I thought looks vaguely spy-ish.
Well, also, explain the gloves.
Oh, and I've got, I don't, yeah, so Dr. No. These are they're not my Dr. No gloves. These are my gloves.
Dr. No, produced by Chubby Broccoli. Cubby Broccoli and Harry S. Saltzman. Directed by Terence Young, who many people say sort of he left his distinct stamp on it, his style and his class. It's the first Bond film, and Bond is sent off to Jamaica because missiles are being sent off course for some reason, and 2 people have been murdered in Jamaica that work for MI6. And behind the devious plot is Dr. No, a white man who's made to look like a Chinese villain.
It feels really like the prototype Bond. You've not quite got all the bits that feel like Bond to you. So you've not got the gadgets and Q and the car and Aston Martin, although there is a car chase scene in it. The first album from a band that would go on and make lots of really great albums, where they're just sort of finding their sound.
It's Pablo Honey. It's the first film. It had a very cheap budget.
$1 million, Mr. Bond. You were wondering what it cost?
Only $1 million for the whole film. And I think they've just thrown a lot at this cheap movie to see what sticks. And a lot of it did. And a lot of it's great. And I think chief among the great things in it is Connery and Bond as a character. And also, compared to the books, and I've only read about 5 of the books. I've not read Dr. No, for instance. Connery is far more charming than the character comes off on the page. The guy in the book is a fucking wanker. He's kind of cool because he's dangerous, but Sean Connery has this instant charisma within the first time, and it's pretty much his first line.
Bond. James Bond.
If you think about it, Bond is this prick. He's this posh arsehole, psychopath who went to a public school, who was in the Navy, and now he's basically a paid murderer in the employ of the British government. Deeply sort of racist. He's this cosseted, moneyed, upper-class shit. He's a member of the establishment. There's nothing about that on the page, in theory, that should ever interest me. I don't want to know, I don't care. And yet I do really love the Bond movies. Really do, and I think it's a good point that a lot of that is probably being drawn into it at an early age through Connery. Through Connery just being inherently a charming presence. Connery's Bond is not, as you said, is not the Bond that you read from the book. It's not this fucking arsehole posh prick who just eats scrambled eggs all the time. He's dangerous, but he's sort of dangerous in a charming and romantic and sort of interesting way.
Ian Fleming, you know, his original ideal casting was David Niven. And what's great about casting Sean Connery, who'd been in a couple of movies and had been good in those movies, but he has such an odd accent. I mean, it is Scottish, but it's something that, you know, it's like Christopher Walken or something. It's completely unique to him. And and I think it's a thing where whoever's watching it, especially in the UK, when, you know, as you were saying, like, you don't want to relate to some, like, posh twat. And, like, this was an accent that's so odd and different that it's sort of open to everyone. He's not part of the establishment. There's not an immediately identifier. You don't immediately go, oh, he's from Edinburgh.
You can imagine being, you know, you're living in Britain, you go to the cinema in 1962, you're 17 years after the end of the Second World War, you're only 8 years out of the end of rationing. You've grown up on the idea of this country being the most important one in the world and no one's got any money, your empire's gone. And then you have this character who's this kind of exotic, exciting, globe-trotting superstar who's sort of quintessentially sort of British as well. You could see why that would be really, really alluring and why, oh wow, and you would really want to embrace that. So, oh wow, look at this there, yeah, here we go. This is our character that we can sort of unleash on the world.
What's astonishing is he's almost like a Superman character because he has no weaknesses. I mean, his weaknesses are alcohol and gambling, but he's brilliant at both. He never has a hangover, and he wins every hand. I mean, it's this thing. He's basically untouchable.
If you're American, you've got like Superman or something, and this is now Bond. Bond is this British superhero. It kind of makes you sort of forget about your shit life.
And I think a lot of it comes back to Ian Fleming's original novels. The ingredients he has in there are the reason why the films are still so successful. They're full of sex and violence and taking place in the most beautiful of locations. I mean, you put those up on the big screen and what's not to like?
Licensed to kill whom he pleases, where he pleases, when he pleases.
Dr. No is a fascinating film because it's very much a film of two halves. The first half is a genuine spy thriller. It's Bond picking up clues, he's interrogating people, he's seeing what's happening in the scene of Jamaica. And the second half is this bonkers island adventure. And neither of them, actually, on their own, are that good. Which sounds terrible to say. The beginning's a lot of walking around hotel rooms. And he arrives there and they say, 3 people spoke to him before he was murdered. And one of them's doing the sort of eyes of the man in, L.A. Noire, someone who's lying to you. The beginning isn't particularly good. And then the island adventure is so fucking bonkers that you go, this doesn't quite work as well. But together, and again, I think it's just like a bunch of great ingredients within this mess that makes it a really exciting film. And then luckily they got to make more films, a couple more, whatever, however many more Bond they made. But, they got to get the things that we loved and bring it back more and more and more. But this first one is odd.
The second half really introduces a lot of the things that now you look at and appear very, very cliche. The, post-Austin Powers, those things now you do sort of smirk a little bit at. The villain with the underground lair, dressed like a member of the sort of North Korean hierarchy. He has a sort of nonsensical plan. And we were saying we're watching it, it does moments where it really does look like he's on the set of Star Trek. With neon pink foam sets at Pinewood.
To be fair, the second half, it could very well be a Star Trek episode where, like, we've arrived on this planet where our rockets are not being able to function, they're being taken off course, and you arrive there and here's this strange man with metal hands who's diverting Enterprise ships for whatever fucking reason. A little bit goofy, everyone in their condom outfits and everything. Oh, where are your gloves?
Oh shit, the gloves, yeah. Gotta get the gloves on. I look stupid without the gloves. They'll be my undoing.
They start off with something immediately iconic, something that will stay with the franchise, which is the gun barrel. Slightly different. There's this sort of strange ding blood coming down. I mean, this is such a strange image. I mean, throughout my childhood, I had no idea what the gun barrel was. It's just like, oh, it's Bond. That's how Bond films begin. I didn't realise it was the end of a gun. We move to our first crazy Bond credits, and it's mostly circles. 3
different songs. You get sort of 3 blind mice, you get another, and then you just get the Bond theme.
With the 3 blind mice, we're introduced to our first henchmen, really, of the franchise. Who are these 3 blind men? But they're not blind. They're just
taking a piss.
There is a silly thing at the beginning where the blind guy feels a sign, and it's not Braille. You could be at the wharf. They could be walking straight into the water. They assassinate the sort of British spy in Jamaica and his secretary. I do feel sorry for Strangways being killed, because you'd assume I've got the Jamaica detail. This is going to be the cushiest job.
Strangways, it's a choice. You've either got Jamaica or Northern Ireland. Oof. Jamaica, please.
The silenced pistols in this have a very distinct sound, this thunk, thunk, that I always liked as a kid. It sounded impactful.
Well, it is really good because it's like a 2-tone noise, isn't it? There's 2 noises, and it's like presumably that second part of the noise is the bullet going into somebody that you wouldn't normally hear because the non-silence round is very loud, which is fairly grim to think of.
Sylvia Trench, who's our first Bond girl, is a really interesting Bond girl to have as a first Bond girl, because in so many movies, I remember when Die Another Day came out, Halle Berry was going, really, I'm the first Bond girl who sort of takes charge and is like, she's on top of Bond. It's like,
that's uncanny. That sounds just like Halle Berry.
Yeah, what can I say? The very first Bond girl, she's flirting with Bond, and she breaks into his apartment to sleep with him and puts on his shirt and is playing golf and basically goes, I'm here to fuck you.
Well, it flies in the face of what you sort of know about, or you think you know about the rest of Bond's relationship with women. The way in which it starts off is a total reversal.
Taxi.
All right, then go ahead.
Help yourself.
They were first, James.
I know. What a prick.
Early Bond films, especially I think the first 2 in particular, but the James Bond theme is used when they thought this is a bit boring. So it's sort of just James Bond walking around, James Bond looking for his keys. Later on, the James Bond theme is reserved for like a tank bursting through a wall.
Yes.
But in this, it's like it's literally in a scene where a woman tells him where his car is parked. The nervous man from an LA Noire game goes to Dr. No's secret island. Dr. No gives him a tarantula to kill people.
That's your first example of a harebrained villain scheme. This man's been snooping around. Take this spider that's in a cage with a handle and go and secrete it into his bedroom and kill him. Just shoot him. If you've got access to his bedroom, shoot him dead through the head.
We have the scene where Bond is leaning against a piece of glass and the spider's climbing up. And we have Bond's first kill of the movie, where Bond takes a shoe to this villainous spider. Drink.
Bond killing a spider with a shoe in a panic. I think the first truly great scene in a Bond movie is the scene where he's anticipated that he's going to be assassinated, and he's put the cushions under his bed and he waits by the door playing cards. That's a Smith & Wesson, and you've had your 6.
It's a Smith & Wesson, and you've had your 6.
That's very much Bond from the books, it feels like.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's the Bond from the books kind of creeping in. Really cold-blooded, just dispatching this guy absolutely remorselessly. As you pointed out, though, he's not got any bullets left. Get some more info out of him.
Can we arrest this man and interrogate him? He knows everything.
If you had a James Bond highlight reel, I don't think many moments from this movie make it in. I would say there are 2. It's Ursula Andress coming out of the ocean, and then this scene.
The first Bond, James Bond, as well.
That's maybe the three.
In Dr. No, his sidekick is Quarrel. I think John Kitzmiller's really good, especially in the first half. He kind of gets a bit dumb in the second half. My favourite scene with Quarrel is in the bar where everyone's dancing to Jump Up, and the evil Spectre the official Spectre photographer takes a photo of them, and Bond drinking straight rum goes, "Quarrel, go get her." And Quarrel comes back hurting her arm, and she takes the flash of the camera, smashes it against the table, and just scratches it down his face. I mean, something that's really nasty, and he has no reaction. He kind of smiles and looks at the blood, and then goes, "You want me to break her arm?"
He's introduced as this really uncompromising sort of tough guy who won't be hustled, won't be intimidated. And then in the second half of the movie, he completely loses his mind and is terrified by the rumour of a dragon. It's bizarre, sort of, this character where they completely forgot what to do with him, I think.
Listen, both of you. There are no such things as dragons. What you saw was something that looked like one.
God, he's surrounded himself with idiots for this mission. In the Crazy Island adventure, we know we're in a very different movie when a beautiful woman just swims up into the movie.
The way that she appears as well, it's like they do very much make her seem like this, yeah, like a descending angel almost. Like here she is, out of the waves.
These days, Honey Rider would just be coming out with a bag full of plastic. Of course, Ursula Andress is absolutely stunning. She's dubbed in it, which I think is a shame, because I actually think Ursula Andress has a very nice voice. Honey Rider is one of these sort of considered one of the classic sort of characters. I actually think she's a bit of a problem with the movie, because her character, if Quarrel is thick in the second half, she's ridiculously fucking stupid.
Did you ever see a mongoose dance? Or a scorpion with sunstroke sting itself to death? Or a praying mantis eat her husband after making love?
Husband?
There's a scene where she says, "I'm not dumb, I've got an encyclopedia."
Yeah, she's been reading it for about 10 years and she's up to tea.
I suppose you went to school somewhere.
I didn't need to. We had an encyclopedia. I started at A when I was 8, and now I've reached T.
She doesn't even know what a zoo is then.
She's only just got past shells. She doesn't really contribute a great deal. Again, it's this thing where she appears and then Quarrel is killed almost immediately, or sort of 2 scenes later. You do feel like they say, well, we've got another companion now, let's get rid of Quarrel, he's dead.
I would rather Quarrel stayed on to the end and he had sex with James Bond in that rowboat.
Captain, what do you think of that?
Rather beautiful.
And then she also believes this fucking dragon nonsense. They see tank tracks, and Quarrel's like, "That's them there's, you know, dragon footprints." James Bond couldn't have 2 less helpful companions than that.
Okay, Captain. If that ain't a dragon, what is it?
Don't be so stupid, Quarrel. It's only a tank with a flamethrower on the front.
When it gets within range, you take the driver. I'll take the headlights and the tires.
Don't worry, it's not a dragon, it's a tank. We'll get it. It's a question of wisdom of them attacking an armoured car, though, with 2 handguns. Bond has really got that man killed.
He literally didn't know what hit him. Dr. No's a weird one to know, like, where does he rank in the great villains of... He's the first.
He doesn't rank, I don't think.
They put him in bed.
And sort of really tucked him in up to his chin as well. Night-night. A Spectre foot soldier, like relatively high ranking. His USP is that he has these metal hands. But again, it's this thing where they don't really utilise those metal hands that he uses to crush a can of Carlsberg export. There's nothing to those hands. It's sort of set up so he dies because he can't hold onto a railing.
Where's Chang? Chang, what are you doing there? Get on the gantry. Now! Last building control.
Chang, what on earth are you doing?
Stop moving the wheel that makes the danger increase.
I am glad they got rid of, because originally, you know, like Ursula Andress is tied and she's going to be drowned. The original thing was she was going to be eaten by crabs, and they just had all these crabs lying around, and they just thought, this looks crap, and got rid of it. Which, you know, good on them, well done, good choice.
Yeah, Dr. No, I mean, it's sort of, as a drinking game, it was slightly underwhelming. As a movie, it's the Bond movie that's not quite there. You can see the seeds would grow into the great oak of the Bond movie franchise.
There are, as we've said, 3 moments that do stand out and have stood the test of time with Dr. No. And the other big thing that carries it through the whole movie is Sean Connery. Bond arrives on the scene, he's instantly cool, you instantly like him, and you want to see more, and you saw a lot more.
Yeah, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have done this the day after staying up till 2 getting drunk.
No. Oh, I feel rotten.
I feel awful.